Hello, I am going to be talking about different perspectives on the relationship between job performance and performance ratings. And I'll specifically be talking about Murphy's article explaining the weak relationship between job performance and ratings of job performance. And then I will discuss Putka, Ingrick, and McCoy's response to Murphy's article. So Murphy's article is centered around this idea that there isn't a very strong relationship between actual job performance and ratings of job performance. We discussed in class that there are several different factors that contribute to the weakness of this relationship, and there are also different ways that we can kind of combat those kinds of issues. Since we did talk about these in class, I won't go too in depth on these. Murphy also discussed three different models that can be used to describe performance ratings. So the first model he talked about was the one-factor model, where performance is directly related to performance ratings. In this model, we can see that performance and performance ratings are essentially seen as the same thing, aside from some measurement error, which is random and unexplainable. So in the article, Murphy was not very fond of this model. He thought it was kind of oversimplified, and that there wasn't a lot of evidence to back this up. So he much preferred the multi-factor models and the mediated models, which he talked about a little bit later in the article. And essentially in both of these models, performance ratings are not seen as a pure reflection of job performance, but rather that there are multiple different distinct factors that can influence performance ratings aside from just performance itself. And all of those factors are also distinct from measurement error. So Putka, Ingrick, and McCoy essentially thought that all of the models that Murphy was looking at were kind of outdated, and that we have more advanced statistical analysis that we can do to better understand the relationship between job performance and performance ratings and better understand error as well. So they specifically talked about mixed effects modeling, which can also be called linear mixed modeling, or LMM. And in these models, measurement error doesn't have to be something that's random and unexplainable. So it kind of leaves the door open in terms of measurement error, that some of that might be random and unexplainable, but some of that might be things that we can better understand. We can find explanations for them and maybe even fix those errors. And data points in this model aren't assumed to be independent of one another. So there can be relationships between those data points. So using these kinds of models, we can separate out different sources of variance and also account for cross-level interactions. So we can look at how individual factors, rater level factors, and contextual factors all influence performance ratings. And we can also look at cross-level interactions, so seeing how those different factors interact with one another. So this accounts for the fact that individual level factors or differences between employees can also be impacted by contextual factors or by different rater level factors. All those different factors can interact with one another and impact performance ratings. So how can we use LMM in performance management? Essentially, it's super helpful in identifying patterns in performance ratings, so it can help us understand which raters might be more prone to certain types of bias, or how specific contextual factors impact the consistency of ratings. And because we can identify those patterns, we can kind of better gauge where exactly the issues lie and deal with those issues specifically that we're seeing with a performance management system. So these kinds of models better allow us to understand the complex relationships between performance and rater evaluations. And when we can understand that complex relationship between the two and better identify where the problems are, we can create more accurate performance appraisals, which can lead to better decision making regarding promotion pay and other personnel actions. And lastly, here are my references. Thank you.